morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our critique of your images from last month. And I'm given to understand that you all found it really, really easy, so well done you. I thought I was giving you a nice wide open topic, and certainly you have supplied me with a wide variety of different blue topics. So that's good. So you did find it easy, really, didn't you? And to begin with our friend Bill, Bill number one with his Meganopsis, well sought out plant, and it's in the right position. Unfortunately, Bill, it's not sharp, and that's a downer. Nonetheless, we found something blue, and we have to be careful with blossoms such as this to ensure that the stamen and the stigma are pin sharp, and they're what might be politely called on the edge of sharpness. So let's move on to the next one, Bill number two, the north coast of Madeira, which is beautiful. I do like that location. Takes me back to walking the Levadas in Madeira, and the wonderful sunlight, the beautiful blue sea. And here Bill has taken us almost in a frame within a frame past the rock on the right hand side, which is in deep shadow, which Bill has managed to retain the detail in, and then through this sinuous opening to the sea beyond. Thank goodness Bill's got the horizon horizontal. Clearly the sweep of the rocks is giving us some feel of three-dimensionality. Further to which, he's also got the receding colours. So we've got the intense dark greens and browns and dark shades in the foreground. We've got those diluted shades with the blue light in the midground, and the background becoming almost colourless of that distant headland. So he's achieved three-dimensionality. Well done, Bill. Thank you for that. And it is largely blue. Number three from Bill, Agapanthus, grows like a weed in New Zealand. And here I think we cultivate them and we cherish them as they need to be. It's a beautiful blossom, and ideally Bill has given us a very nearly square format, and that's a very powerful format. Well done on that, Bill. You've cropped that down beautifully. However, whilst the Agapanthus is as it should be, pin sharp, so is everything else. And what we really would have enjoyed is seeing the Agapanthus in the foreground sharp, the one behind it a bit softer, and the distant background of the shed and the man walking with his hands behind his back, the trees and the foliage in the distance, really, really quite soft. Now we achieve that, Bill, by opening up your aperture. So anything like this, open up your aperture, whatever the widest aperture you can use, and then take your image. You may well need to do it on a tripod. And I do find that any of the slightest hint of breeze or whisper of light airs will give you problems. So you have to use, well, I won't tell you, you can work it out for yourself. You know what to do when things are moving. Well, that's a good attempt. Thanks, Bill. Beautiful blue flower, Agapanthus. Brenda number one. She's called it Pretty Sharp, and it really is. Now, I have no idea the technical name of this particular flower, but it is largely in the blue end of the spectrum, and as such, it's a very sharp, prickly looking blossom. So well done on that. It's a compound flower. Each of those little tiny pieces is the individual flowers, which comprise that bulb there, as I might call it, and then the bracts behind it. Brenda has chosen a wide aperture, so you'll notice, ladies and gentlemen, that the stamen are pin sharp, whilst the bracts behind them are soft, and the blossom behind it is even softer. So well done, Brenda. Wide open, as you would do on a portrait, to get the subject in focus and the background out of focus. Look, ladies and gentlemen, again at the foreground, the actual blossom itself, the midground, the bracts, which are soft, and the very distant background, almost so dark that we don't even notice it, but you and I notice it because it's very, very soft, and therefore it gives us, well, you know what I'm going to say, three-dimensionality. It's a very well done, well taken photograph with appropriate camera settings. Well done on that. Further, Brenda has gone overboard, really overboard, with the stroke line. She's got a mid-cream stroke line, and outside of that she's picked the blue-grey and given us another stroke line. So well done on that, and it gives us that sort of picture frame effect that is rather delicious in this case. I like that a lot. Well done. Super, well seen, well taken, and good settings on your camera. Thanks, Brenda. Good one. Brenda 2, Don't Be Blue. And here we have one of these to photograph the bumblebee. And of course the bumblebee is needing to be pin sharp. Well, the flowers in the foreground are pin sharp, but the bumblebee is just on the edge of sharpness. And really you needed to be absolutely 100% sure that the bumblebee, which is the subject of this photo, is sharp. It's set beautifully against the blue of, what is it? Is it a bluebell? I guess it's a bluebell. And again, Brenda has tried to adopt an aperture suitable for allowing the midground and the background to drop into softness. So well done on that. Once again, Brenda's thinking ahead. She's thinking ahead of how to set her camera for the subject in question. Beautiful recession. Sharp foreground on the bluebells. The bee is on the edge of sharpness. The bluebell in the background is quite soft, and the foliage, the green foliage in the distant background, is so soft that it gives us three-dimensionality. I like that a lot. Now, I expect you took 99 more of those on that day, and I'd ask you to go back and look at them and see whether you've got one where the bumblebee is just a bit sharper, pin sharp. Of course, you may have put it through a sharpening process in Photoshop, but they can never make something that isn't sharp to be sharp. So just have a think about and have a look at your other shots on that day. I like the double stroke. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, notice that Brenda has used a cream stroke, and outside of which there's then a blue stroke selected from the bluebells themselves, and it certainly is a play on blue, and it's also got the bee in it. So well done. I like the title. Titles are important, and that's well achieved. Let's move on to the next one. Brenda number 3. Go on, put your finger in. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness me. I wouldn't stroke that with my finger. I'd like to keep my finger attached to my hand. Thank you very much. Very well taken animal portrait. And again, Brenda has used such a setting as to achieve sharpness in the eye of the parrot, whilst achieving, with an open aperture, softness in the background. So well done on that. I like that. Don't put your finger in. And it's a blue parrot. Thank you. I like that. Good idea. Now, as far as the portraiture is concerned, perhaps it would have been better if the portrait had been a little smaller in the frame, by which I mean you give more space to the parrot. I like the point of view, this sort of profile approach, and the fact that you've attempted to get the eye of the creature to be the point of focus. Looks like he's fluffing his feathers up, and that in this instance gives us a softness of approach, a softness in the image. So yes, and I like the title. Go on, put your finger in. No chance. Thanks, Brendo. Diana 1, Forget Me Not. And just at present, it's disappeared off my screen. Oh, here we are. Beautiful image of a Forget Me Not. I really like that. I have a little lapel badge of one of those, the meaning of which is irrelevant at present. And what Diana has done here is to give us a square, or very nearly square format, with the stem of the flower coming in from the bottom left-hand corner. Good bonus point for that one. Going up in this diagonal sweep to these blossoms, which are sharp as far as I can tell. They're as near sharp as you can ever achieve, and it's not easy. It really isn't easy. Diana has chosen such an aperture as to keep the blossoms themselves sharp, whilst dropping the background into such softness that it is inconsequential. So I like that a lot. That's a very, very good image. Beautiful stroke line, double stroke line, with the grey, mid-grey, and then outside that a blue selected from the Forget-Me-Not blossoms, and so that's very well done. It's giving us that picture frame effect, and I like that a lot. Those stroke lines do separate very, very effectively the image from the screen, as I might say. If we're looking at this together on a computer or on the screen in the Sally Army, the stroke line separates it from the background screen. And if you're putting these into other competitions elsewhere, it's a very, very useful technique. Don't overdo it. Don't have more than 2 or 3 pixels, and don't make it bright red. Mo. Let's move on to the next one. Diana 2, if you go down in the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. Well, there we are. A lovely arrangement, carefully chosen, of bluebells and logs. Beautifully seen. And of course there's no hailstone, no howling wind, no horizontal rain, which is jolly good, because I had enough of the hailstones and the wind and the rain when we all did it on our last visit. Very well composed. Look, ladies and gentlemen, at how Diana has chosen her taking position so as to bring a log from the bottom left-hand corner and another log from the bottom right-hand corner, all of which are then intermingled, both of which are intermingled with the bluebells. Now there is something else to notice, and I can hear Suzanne sitting in the row over there saying, there's a vignette on that image, and you are right, Suzanne. Can everybody else see it? Diana has used a vignette, just enough to hold the image in, outside which she then has maybe a 1 pixel mid-grey stroke and a maybe 3 pixel blue stroke selected from the blue in the image. That is a skillfully produced image, young lady. I think that's very good indeed. Well done. I like it. Compositionally, it's good. Focus-wise, it seems to be good on my little screen here. And with the photo manipulation, jiggery-pokery software, you've certainly improved it even further. So well done to you. That's very good indeed. Compliments. Diana number 3. Appealing paint. Well, that gets the score, doesn't it, for making the judge laugh. And here Diana has found some blue paint on her garden shed or a seaside, what do you call those seaside sheds? And it's peeling off. Not only that, but Diana has chosen such a time of day or such a side on the shed that the light is coming in obliquely, giving us lots and lots of shadow and highlight. Now, do you remember the phrase? Light is your paper and shadows are your paintbrush. And this, Diana's third submission, is an exercise, a masterpiece even, in light and shadow. Very, very well done. Now, of course, the task was blue, and she has found a beach hut with blue peeling paint. And look again at the title, A Peeling Paint. A Peeling Paint. Very, very powerful. This young lady is getting rather good. I'm going to have to give you a harder topic next time round, you know, because that's so good. Now, I'm impressed with that. Come on, Suzanne, what do you notice? Have you seen it? Can I hear your voice coming from the other side there? Are you saying there's a vignette on that? Yes, you're right. Has everybody else noticed that very, very slight vignette inside that 2-pixel mid-grey stroke? Beautifully done. Now, of course, I've missed something, haven't I? What can I hear Jeff saying to me? Jeff saying, that's a square format. You're right, Jeff. That's a square format. And that's a very powerful presentation. Very well done, Diana. Now, you're giving me a problem because I've got to think of something that's tougher for next time. And I know you've found this one easy. Easy peasy. So I wonder what I've got in line for you next. You'll see. Well done. Jeff number 1, blue. And Jeff has found these, I would call those daisies, anyway, those flowers, with a hint of blueness about them. And as such, that was a good find, wasn't it, Jeff? So this carpet of flowers. And Jeff has used a portrait orientation deliberately to show us the swathe of blue flowers disappearing down the flower bed. Very well chosen. Jeff's choice of aperture and focus is such that the flowers on the 1/3 up are sharp. The flowers nearest to us are just on the edge of sharpness. That's good. And the flowers going further away from the 1/3 mark are getting softer and softer and softer, giving us 3-dimensionality. So that's very well done, Jeff. Yeah, I like that a lot. Well done. It's blue. There's foreground, midground, and background. And the aperture you've chosen has given us 3-dimensionality. Well done, Jeff. Keep it up, mate. Jeff number 2, Handel. Not the musician, but the one in the, I'm going to guess, the gents' loo. Either which way, this is something blue. And Jeff's found something quite out of the ordinary. Who on earth would take their camera into the loo and take the photo of the handle? Well, of course, it might not be in the loo. I don't know where it is. I don't care. But all credit to Jeff for finding this strange shaped object. I hope he didn't get arrested for taking your camera in there. Anyway, there we go. And it's blue. It's almost an abstract, isn't it? And Jeff has actually gone down the avenue of minimalism here. There's only 2 colours, basically, in this photo, blue and white. And this minimalist approach has given him something really quite special. No one else in the group has actually achieved minimalism as Jeff has on this occasion. So well done, Jeff. Super duper. And remember, everyone, less is more. Can I hear Suzanne saying that in my ear? Less is more. Of course it is. Well done, Jeff. Jeff number 3, some blue signs. And they certainly are blue and they certainly are signs. Now I wonder how Jeff might have improved this. Could he perhaps have positioned it on the third rather than slap in the middle? Could he perhaps have given us part of it, an interesting part? Do we really need the whole thing? Could we have asked Jeff to apply less is more principle and focus on a little part of that? Could we further have indicated the three-dimensionality by choosing a wide open aperture? Because just at present the travel information signboard is pin sharp, so is the no entry sign behind it, so is the car going up the hill in the very, very distance there, and the lamp standards. So I think you've achieved something in blue, and you need to think always about aperture. Try setting your camera on aperture priority. Put it on the widest aperture, big hole, small number, and take a series of photos just like that with those settings. Then apply less is more and hunt around for something, in this case blue. Well, you certainly achieved 3 good blue images, so well done to you, Jeff. Good attempt. Iris, the awakening of summer. Beautiful. It's almost poetic, isn't it? It's almost poetic. I can hear Iris phrasing that in my ear, the awakening of summer. We have this bank with these bluebells just showing through, the winter, early spring trees with the buds breaking, and this lovely light green, apple green colour, which Iris has used for her stroke. Notice, ladies and gentlemen, Iris has chosen a green from the image with which to put a 2 or 3 pixel stroke around the whole image. And then we have this hint of spring, this hint of summer, this blue coming through. And so it does address the topic of blue. Well done, Iris. Thank you for that. Iris number 2, woodland joy bells. Is this a bluebell? I don't know. Why is it a joy bell? I don't know. Anyway, what do I know? I'm not a horticulturalist. We'll have to ask Bill what sort of plant this is. Bill's our plant expert. And here we have these blossoms, which themselves are sharp, standing out against the softness and notice the darkness of the background. So good choice of aperture, and the blossoms on the top of the tallest spike are pin sharp, whilst the others have retained some softness, giving us a feel of depth, of three-dimensionality. So I like that very much. I'm wondering whether you have any more where perhaps the blossoms themselves are a little brighter. It's actually quite difficult in woodland to have the brightness and maybe a little tiny bit of contrast in your photo manipulation jiggery-pokery software, or some clarity. Just slide the clarity slider up and see what happens. We don't want to overdo it, don't want to overblow it, but that's a beautifully soft image. And I can see, I'm thinking of Doreen now. Doreen, I think, would love that image with which to then base a painting. I can just picture Doreen painting from that photo. Thank you very much. It's very good, and it is blue. Well done. Iris number 3, a flower chime. Now, this one's This one's got me puzzling. We have this hanging porcelain chime, which I suppose is meant to blow in the wind and go tinkle tinkle. And Iris has managed to find an Australian bluebell. Why is it an Australian bluebell? Because it grows upside down. Well, I guess, ladies and gentlemen, that Iris has used a clever bit of technology here, and she's taken a bluebell picture from elsewhere, inverted it, and popped it into this chime. If not, I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong. It wouldn't be the first time Mo's saying in my ear, but nonetheless, it's a very amusing little photo with blue as its theme. I like that. Notice also the stroke is a colour selected from the image itself, and that's very powerful. The bluebell blossom is sharp, and even the reflection in the chime is sharp. So the whole thing is sharp whilst retaining softness in the background. It almost looks like a shadow. I don't know, what have you done here, Iris? You've given me a puzzle here. This is a judge's puzzle, isn't it? I'm looking at the shadow behind. How have you kept that Australian bluebell upside down growing? Oh, I don't know what you've done. Anyway, it's well done. I like it very much. Thank you. And it ticks the box of making the judge laugh. So well done on that one. Mo number 1, bluebells after the hail. Well, Mo's chuckling at what we actually went through when we went on our trip. And the bluebells were being beaten down, as were we, by the hailstones. I remember Diana being hit in the face by hailstones. And the rain coming down, we were under a tree trying to shelter from the rain. And the wind was blowing the bluebells over, and jolly near blew us over as well. So well done on taking that. Takes me back to our last trip. Wonder where we'll go for this next trip. Well, that is a secret, and I will tell you. Shall I tell you now? No, I won't tell you now. And Mo has chosen a colour blue from the blossom of the bluebells, and given us a 2 to 3 pixel stroke around the screen. Well done. Come on then, Suzanne. What else do you notice? I can hear your voice speaking in my ear. There's a vignette on that, and you are quite right. Now, whether that is a deliberate vignette or a happy circumstance, I don't know, and I don't care. But it works well. It looks beautiful. The flower itself is sharp, the background is soft, if a little grainy, so one has to ask, did he take this out of a larger image and enlarge it to the point where we can see grain in the background? If he did, well, we can all learn from that. Don't over-enlarge your images. And it's blue, so it addresses the task. The stalk is coming from the bottom left-hand corner, somehow in that black haze in the bottom left-hand corner. It's sweeping poetically across the image. Now, one tiny niggle. The petal on the right-handmost blossom is just kissing the edge of the image. And we want a little bit more image there, a little bit more space, a little bit more, if it's on the film, as it were, if it's on the original image, don't crop it quite so tight. We can actually see spiders' webs on this image as well, so that's well done, Mo. And although I tease him, that's a well taken and well processed image. Didn't tease him enough, did I? See what we've got next. Mo 2. Tea, anyone? Well, here we have the most strange sort of tea concept I've ever seen. I would have called that a coffee machine, but nonetheless, if it's a tea machine, who knows? And it's blue. Why is it blue? Is there a sort of superimposed blueness using Photoshop manipulation here? I don't know. Do these things glow blue? Maybe they do. In which case it's very well seen to actually capture this blue glow around this advanced technology kettle. And yes, it's blue. Does it do anything for me? Does it make me think? What's the title again? You see, the title's very important. Tea, anyone? Well, does that help me? It tells me it's a Teasmade of some description, but I could have guessed that. But if I really was guessing, I think it was a coffee machine, just an advanced kettle, which is the image of which has either been turned or glows blue. Okay. I'm looking for a better suggestion for a title. I've heard of black tea, I've heard of green tea, but I've never yet heard of blue tea. But nonetheless, there we go. Could it be improved? Mo has used a blue from the image in the stroke around the outside. Beautifully done. He's focused our attention on the stream of water coming through from the spout of the Teasmade, and that's sharp. Everything else outside of the cup and the flow of water seems soft enough to give us some three-dimensionality. One tiny niggle is that the cropping on the top is just a tad too close to the top of the kettle, as it were. But other than that, it's certainly addressing the topic of being blue. Not certain about the title, and titles are important. Have I said that before? I expect I have. You've got to tell the judge what you want him to look at. And I suppose you might say, well, he did. He told me to look at tea, and well, I'll leave it at that. I think the title could be worked on. So we'll move on to Mo's third effort. Now we're talking. You got me singing the blues. Yeah, well, I won't sing it to you, and I don't suppose Mo will sing it to you, but maybe we'll do a duet on the day, but perhaps not. And that's very imaginative. Well done, Mo. There's not a single pixel of blue in the whole image, and there doesn't need to be. Great. I like that a lot. It's given me a smile on my face, singing the blues. Yep, and here we have this guy singing away into the microphone. I can almost hear the music playing. And yeah, singing the blues, that's great. Square format, powerful. Look, ladies and gentlemen, at how powerful that format is. The precision of the focus on the fillings in the gentleman's mouth is absolutely 100% spot on. The microphone is sharp, his beard is sharp, and yet by choosing an appropriate focal length of lens, he has not been distorted into some sort of Martian. It's a well-taken photograph. Look at the background. Have we forgotten the background? Yes, we have. Should we forget the background? Yes, because the focus of our attention must be on the man singing the blues. So the background, whether it's curtaining or whether it's a wall, doesn't matter to me. It's totally out of focus. It's in darkness, and I like that a lot. Ask yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, how was this lit? Did Mo use a flash gun? Did he use some sort of studio lighting? Or is it ambient lighting? Either which way, where was the light coming from? Was it from the left? Was it from the right? Was it from above? Was it from below? How can you tell? Well, look at the shadow behind his ear. Now, what does that tell you? Can you work out where the lighting is? Can you work out what the lighting is? Was it flash? Was it on-camera flash? Was it off-camera flash? Was it a softbox? Was it ambient? Look at the shadows in the creases in his face. Look at the roundness of his cheek particularly the one on the right-hand side. Look at the sharpness or otherwise of the shadow of his ear and analyze this photo. I have said to you I want you to do some analysis, and that's where we're going next. And analysing this photo, you will learn a lot. Well done, Mo. I haven't criticised that at all. Let's find something to criticise. Oh, there's no stroke. That's the only thing I would say. Yeah, well done, Mo. Good one. Roger number 1. Blue Andal, I don't know what they are. Andals, those. Looks like an iris to me, but obviously it's not. And it's slap in the middle. So what's wrong with putting it on the third? And we have a highlight. Now the main focus of this image, the main point of interest, should be the blossom. But my eye is taken up to the highlights in the background up to the right of the blossom. The blossom isn't on the third and could usefully have been on the third. It's actually not sharp, Roger, and although the background is suitably soft, so is the blossom itself. And so we really have to pay attention to where the focus of our camera is. That needs to be pin sharp. Open up your aperture, put the camera on a tripod, avoid windy conditions, and get this blossom, as with all blossoms, pin sharp. And it is blue, so well done on finding something blue. I like that, thank you. Roger number 2, blue in New Zealand. Wow, look at that. Oh my goodness me. Roger's out on his boat in New Zealand somewhere, and the whole view is ultraviolet light. This blueness of the hills, the mountains, the distance, gives us the idea of three-dimensionality from this standpoint. The horizon is absolutely horizontal. There is no excuse for an advanced group such as yourselves of having an horizon that is going downhill one way or the other. You know my way of saying it, the tide's going out. Well, it's not on this occasion. It's horizontal, and that's good. Roger has paid close attention to that. Further, the blueness of the scene is giving us three-dimensionality. The hillside on the left, behind which we have a bluer range of hills, and further back from that, some mountains with what looks like vestiges of snow on them. So we've got real three-dimensionality. Further, we have a foreground, the sea, choppy sea, a mid-ground, the closest of those hills, and a background, the ever-receding ultraviolet blue of the mountains in the background. And a bit of cloud. Is that cloud? Looks like cloud. I don't think it's snow on the mountain. There is some snow on the mountain. Well, that's taking me back. We're into travel photography here. Thank you, Roger, for putting this well in. You've taken me back to New Zealand. I know exactly where we are. I'm on the boat. I'm whale watching in New Zealand, and I'm feeling the movement of the vessel in the sea. I'm looking at the wonderful scenery. In the old days, we used to put ultraviolet filters on our lenses so as to cut down the blueness, because colour film was very, very sensitive to ultraviolet. And in this case, one might say that the ultraviolet really has taken over, but it certainly is blue. And I wonder if this is a piece taken from a smaller photo, or whether perhaps it's an older photo that's been taken on a film camera. I'm beginning to see what's called colour noise in the sky. When you look at the sky, if I enlarge that, as you will be seeing it in the Sally Army, I'm seeing speckles of different colours. I'm seeing purple and red and green, all sorts of colours in the sky there. in what's called colour noise. Nowadays, your modern cameras and your up-to-date photo manipulation, jiggery-pokery software, you can cut that down, if not reduce it altogether. But that's a wonderful image. You've taken me back to New Zealand. Thank you, Roger. And it certainly is blue. Roger 3. The Blue North Cape at midnight. Wonderful. Yes. Midnight. And the sun is still shining. Terrific. Another image, largely chosen, its colour palette is largely chosen from the blue end of the spectrum. And you'll notice, ladies and gentlemen, that the yellow works well with the blue. We seem to have sea below, we seem to have sky above, we have layers of cloud, and some of that crepuscular light coming in, giving us those beams in the top of the sky there from the sun, and the little sun coming through the cloud in that bright yellow. That's a very evocative photo, with the dome on the left on the third, the crepuscular light rays coming in and almost drawing our attention to it, to the dome and the sunlight coming through the clouds. Well done. Yeah, I like that, Roger. That's a good photo. Thank you for that one. And of course, it really is largely blue. Having said all that, do we need all of these silhouetted people down below? Could it have been cropped about, well, let me say level with the base of the dome and get rid of most of those people who may be considered to be distracting? Well, you must answer it, and Roger has decided to keep them in, and keeping them in does lend a certain amount of three-dimensionality to this image. It's quite well composed, and from the colour point of view, it's very well chosen. Suzanne number 1. Now here we go. Let's see what Suzanne has done. Well, look, blue lighting the way. We're on an aircraft. We're going somewhere. This is another travel photo, just up my street. I like it a lot. Very well seen, Suzanne. Don't know where you're going. Doesn't matter. But she's seen the blue lights, or the blueness in the lights in this aircraft. And perhaps, just perhaps, Suzanne has discovered a slider or a way, using her photo manipulation jiggery-pokery, of intensifying the blueness in the light. So we have this blue light leading the way. We have leading lines. I'm taken from the first seat to the next, to the next, to the next. I'm travelling along the length of the aircraft. And when I get there, there is something. I don't know what it is. If I can enlarge it on my screen, it's almost imperceptible what it is. But there's a spot of orange light. So we do get there. I'm not sure I'm terribly interested in whatever it is, but that doesn't matter because we've got this terrific three-dimensionality, the leading lines taking us in to the forward end of the aircraft. Now Suzanne has done something very advanced here. We seem to have a black crop and then a black stroke, should I say, and then outside that a very thin white or even mid-grey stroke, which beautifully frames this image. Well done, Suzanne. That's, I think you're moving into the advanced class now. That's very good, very well done. Lighting the way, and it's blue, it addresses the task. Well done, Suzanne. So we'll move on to Suzanne number 2. Bluebells through the looking glass. Isn't that beautiful? I like that. That's an advanced piece of work, again, through a looking glass. A looking glass. I wonder why Suzanne has chosen that title. Well, I can see what she's getting at, that we're looking at this window, this opening in the frosted glass, through to this bluebell carpet, a wonderful carpet of bluebells in the woods. And probably Suzanne was saying, well, it's a bit ordinary without that circle. But I thought I'd add the circle because I found I could do it, and it seemed to bring my attention in, past the trees on the left, past the trees on the right, through to that carpet of blue. That's really imaginatively done. Well done, Suzanne. You mustn't overdo that, but I think that's well done. You found a new slider in your photo manipulation software, and you might try with that slider, if you can, reducing its effect so as to give you this sort of circular window, almost a circular vignette going through into this scene. I like that a lot. Do we need it in that crop? Yeah, I think I'd keep it that way. Just trying to consider it as a square image, a square format, but I think I like it the way you've done it. Yep, good. I can't see a stroke. I can't see a vignette. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Let's think about the title, Bluebells Through the Looking Glass. Do you really mean a looking glass? Isn't a looking glass a mirror? Is that what you want me to understand? Or do you really want me to understand that it's looking through a clear circle in frosted glass? I don't know. Think about the title. If you're going to use that elsewhere, think about the title and try to make it appeal to the judge. Yeah, I like that. Well done, well taken, well focused, and I'm enjoying your playing with your software. That's very good. Thank you. Suzanne, number 3, Feeling Blue. And oh my word, look, she's taken a leaf out of Moe's book here. This poor old fella is feeling blue. There's not a pixel, not one of the colour blue in this, and there doesn't need to be. That's very good. She's put this old man, whether he's a tramp, whether he's a down and out, I don't know, on the 3rd. She's been brave enough to take a picture of a person so we know the scale of the image, and she's giving us the idea that this gentleman feels sad, he feels blue. It didn't have to have blue in the image. Feeling blue, singing the blues. I'm sure you'll think of 100 others now. We've seen this excellently produced image from Suzanne. So well done on that. You've taken us outside the box. You've given us something without the colour blue in it, and the title helps the judge. However, and you knew I was going to say this, look at the edge of the gentleman against the wall. Look at the edge of the seat against the wall. I'm seeing what we call a halo. Can you see a white line, a brightness around the gentleman's head and his hood and his shoulders? And this is an artifact. It's an artifact of the photo manipulation software. I feel confident that you are shooting in RAW, and by further manipulation of the image, you'd be able to get rid of that halo. So watch it. If you were to put that up in a competition, an outside competition, the judge would see that halo and pick on it. Try to go back to it. It's a very strong image. I love the fact that there's no blue in it. I love the fact that you've given me a very insightful pointer with regard to the title. I'm not too certain about the frame. That looks like a sort of pretend metal frame that you've just called up from some software somewhere. So I'm not too appreciative of that. I don't think that's one you've constructed. I think that's one you clicked on and decided to use. It's not a photographer's frame, if I might put it that way, but it's a very well done photo. I like that, and I love the title. Well done, Suzanne. Well seen, well taken, and well presented. Terry number 1, a blue barge, and here we are. We have a blue barge. We certainly do have a blue barge. Now, if there's writing in a photo, my eye is taken to it, and I have to read it. Well, okay, that was on the image, that was on the scene, and it is a blue barge. Now, all of it's sharp, and I merely ask which part should be sharp, because really my eye is taken to the kingfisher or whatever it is, the two birds on the bank beyond, and the man putting his rubbish in the rubbish bin number 48. And so it's distracting my attention, and you have to be very careful when you're using a long lens to think background, background, background. Aperture, priority on your camera. Try to think of what the background's doing. In this case, it's distracting. It is distracting my attention. Good stroke, 2 pixels, mid-grey. It certainly is a blue barge, and my eye is bouncing between the numbers on the side of the barge, 510754, and the number 48 on the dustbin that the man is rummaging in. Is he putting things in, or is that the man from Suzanne's picture earlier? He's looking for something that he can eat or wear or sell in next door's dustbin. Well, who knows? Who cares? Thank you for that, Terry. Let's move on. Terry number 2, a lone bloom, and here it is. This poor little bluebell coming from underneath the log, and it's all on its own. So I can hear Suzanne saying, okay, I agree. That's what the title's telling me. It's telling me that this bluebell is lonely. Under the log, it's a lonely bluebell. As such, it's pin sharp. I like it. The blossom itself is sharp. The log is sharp, but the background, the bracken, and leaves are in softness, giving me 3-dimensionality. How about the crop? Would it have been useful to crop off the right-hand quarter so as to bring the stalk of the bluebell up from the bottom right-hand corner? If yes, do it. Further, since we write with a pen or a pencil from left to right, would it have been useful to flip the image so the bluebell is growing up from the bottom left-hand corner? Consider it. Just see what you think. Very well chosen, 1 or 2 pixel mid-grey stroke around it. Well done, Terry. It's a lonely bloom, and it's blue. Well done, Terry. Number 3. Now here we are. Terry's taken us to somewhere and given us this. It's almost minimalist. It's almost an abstract of these blue planters in a garden centre, and isn't that well done? I do like that a lot. You know, Terry, I think that this would be one where I would recommend that you present it as one of a triptych. You know what a triptych is? 3 images, similarly simplistic, similarly abstract, that you could really impress the judge with. Pots of Blue, the title. Good title, Pots of Blue. I like that rather than Blue Pots. I like yours, Pots of Blue. I do like that. It's simple. Less is more. Very good. Well done. Terrific. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you certainly took what I thought would be a challenging task to your hearts. You've given me chuckles, you've given me challenges, and you've certainly given me some terrific images. I'm very impressed with the less is more principle, with the three-dimensionality, the roundness, and the thinking outside of the box about something unique. So it's quite easy for me to look at the summary of your photos and see who give me the most pleasure, and I do enjoy doing these, the most pleasure from looking at these images. And it's quite clear to me that as I scroll through the whole images, looking at Bill's, looking at Brenda's, coming down to Diana's, Jeff's, Iris's, Mo's, Roger's and Suzanne's, and not least Terry, we have got a suite of 3 stunning images from everyone. And it's quite clear that the winner is going to be